Hello, everyone, and welcome to Trace Free Webinar Series. Today's webinar addresses the topic of how to define future tourism opportunities. Before we start, I would like to dedicate a quick moment for housekeeping. Kindly note that the webinar will be recorded, so please feel free to keep your camera on or off. We will be able to share a link with you just after the webinar is complete. We welcome you to revisit the content yourself and share it with your colleagues if you feel like doing so. The last 20 minutes will be dedicated to a Q&A. You're most welcome to use the chat box throughout. We will be collecting questions and addressing them to the speakers. You can also click your microphone icon to unmute yourself and interact directly with the speakers. I will start by giving you a very brief overview of the project, Trace, and then I will introduce our four inspiring guests. So I'll be sharing my screen. Just a second. Okay. So welcome to the webinar series of Project Trace. Project Trace is the abbreviation, Trace is the abbreviation of SME's transition for a European circular tourism ecosystem. The project is co-funded by the European Union and it's part of the overall post-COVID recovery strategy for a sustainable and resilient European tourism ecosystem. In this project, we are a consortium of 7 partners, and we come from 5 European countries, which are Italy, Belgium, Romania, Cyprus, and Spain. The project has several objectives, but most importantly, it aims to enhance skills and capacities of European SMEs towards a more resilient, sustainable, and circular tourism economy. The project launched an open call, and the open call was open to the hospitality sectors for different categories, which encompass hotels and similar accommodation, holiday and other short stay accommodation, camping grounds, restaurants and mobile food services, beverage serving activities, renting and leasing of motor vehicles, renting and leasing of recreational and sports goods, and other related enterprises to the tourism sector. The selected 100 SMEs have the opportunity to use the grant to do a fitness check for their enterprise, prepare for green certification, implement environmental footprint methods, upscale and reskill, boost innovations within their SME, and improve the uptake of innovative sustainable solutions. They can also develop sustainable business strategies and develop socially sustainable tourism models. Under the framework of the training, but also awareness raising of Trace program, we are offering 5 free webinars to tackle relevant topics to circular tourism in Europe. This is the second webinar, and 3 more webinars will take place between February and April this year. I will move now to introduce our first speaker. Our first speaker today is Petros Nikolaou, who is a craftsman and entrepreneur from Cyprus. His love for Cypriot traditions, arts, and crafts has led him to leave the town and move to the village of Koirokitia, where he lives in a traditional stone-made Cypriot house, which is also his workshop. His house workshop is decorated with his own handmade creations, and Petros considers it a small mosaic of Cypriot culture. His main activity is the traditional Cypriot soft basketry, and he participates in various events and exhibitions where he demonstrates his art and crafts and encourages people to try to get involved and experience how artisanal products are made. Our next two speakers actually will have a conversation between themselves and are Cristina Amenta, who is an architect expert in accessibility, and Vania Cauzillo, who's an artist and founder, and they will discuss their common experience in Ecoverticale SRL, and particularly they will speak about the widespread hospitality in Matera in Italy, which is blended with the concept of cultural spaces. Our fourth speaker today will be Alessandro Rancati, who is an architect and designer trained at the Politecnico of Milan. And prior to joining the EU Policy Lab, Alessandro ran a small communication and creative innovation studio and taught design and innovation at Elisava in Barcelona. Alessandro explores the space between policy and design, and he is a senior practitioner of design management, design direction, service design, design thinking, and concept/context mapping. And he also facilitates participatory leadership processes. Thank you very much for joining us today. We will start with Petros. Unfortunately, Petros couldn't connect today, but he was still very eager to participate with us, and he sent us a video which we will play right now. So I will ask my colleague Karen if you could please share Petros' video.
I'm Petros Nikolaou from Cyprus. I'm born in Paphos area. I'm coming from a small village, but the last 23 years I live in Chirogitia village. Chirogitia is a small village very close to Larnaca area. I used to be a restaurant manager and a chef for 18 years. I used to work in a 5-star hotels. But my love for the culture and the tradition is pushing me to make the last 9 years my own business in Chirogitia village. I make the unique basketry museum in Chirogitia. We are in a place, it's a building from 1850, and I renovated from the beginning to the end, my own. And we have the basketry museum and the small agricultural house. I'm working with tourists every day during the period summer and springtime. Also in autumn, we have every day here in the place a lot of groups from around the world. They are coming here to show them the art of the basketry and also how we produce our traditional halloumi, cheese, and not only. So I show them how we make the local baskets. It's an art I learned from my grandparents. I am from the last weaver in the island. We are only 2-3 left. It's an art, it's going to finish. But I keep it, and the last few years, every day I make a demonstration about this very nice and beautiful art. About the halloumi cheese. The halloumi cheese is a very, very famous and the most popular cheese we have in the island. All the products we use and we serve to the tourists here, it's organics from our farm. Even the milk we take every day is from our goats. We bring the milk here, we make the cheese in a very, very special basket. We call it talari. It's made from a grass. We call it sklinigi. In English, we call them water reeds. And we like to show to the visitors the authentic Cyprus. Also, except the halloumi, we make a lot of traditional dishes like homemade bureki. It's a dessert we make from anari cheese. We make a culinary program about few authentic tasting foods. For example, we make dolmades, kupepia, meatballs, some other dishes like burguri with afelia. It's a very, very local foods we give to the tourists for tasting. Also, here in the village, we are a small team here in the place, and also I employ 3 people from the village. It's my neighbors here. I give them work here, they help me, but the thing here, I don't see them as staff. We are friends, we are like a family. And together we are a very, very strong team, and we have every day so many tourists come to the place. Here in our basketry museum, every day we have small groups of tourists, because we like, me and my team, to show them the real Cyprus, the culture, the traditional products we do here, and we like to pass all these things almost individually, to have a small conversation together, to tell them our story, how we make this small museum here, and we are coming in a part like a friendship. We don't see them as a tourist. We would like to enjoy them in the place, to enjoy everything, not only the hospitality, the real Cyprus. Also in the museum, here we try to not waste of material I use. The rest of the materials, if I don't make a small basket, the rest I take it back to the nature, I leave it in the field. And also, another one example, when we make halloumi cheese, the rest is not eatable to the customers. We make also, we can use the next day to make a traditional halloumi pie. It's a very, very traditional bread as well. Also from the Anari, here in the island, we have a very, very special dessert. We call it bureka. It's a pastry, start with Anari cheese with cinnamon and sugar. It's a very similar to the ravioli, but that one is a sweet. We fry it, and top of it we put ice sugar, and it's a very, very typical. And also here in the place, we have a demonstrations for bureki, and we give to the customer as a dessert. And even the way when we make a halloumi, the rest of the juice is the way. Even me, I never throw in my farm. Every year I have 2 pigs, and every day the way we give it to the pigs, it's a very, very good protein, this juice, and we give them to the pigs. And very important thing here in the museum, we don't like to use any plastic thing. Everything we use, it's a porcelain, glass, and we don't like to use at all plastic. We try to be an eco place. The last year, the museum, we are in the heart of leisure by Ministry of Tourism. the Ministry of Tourism last year gave to the museum the Cyprus Hospitality Awards about the experience, hospitality, agriculture, tourism.
It's with great pleasure to host the video of Petros, although he wasn't able to join us today, also because of connection issues in the village. It's great to at least have the opportunity to share his insights. I had the honor to participate in one of his workshops, and indeed, he conveys this message not only of sharing his knowledge with people, but also exchanging stories and know-how with the tourists who he perceives as participants instead of tourists. I think this connects beautifully, Cristina, with your idea of inclusive tourism. And we would like to hear more about how you tried to explore and reshape cultural tourism and unpack challenges and opportunities which are revolving around the landscape of Matera. So, welcome, Cristina, and the floor is yours.
Hi, welcome. And just I want to say goodbye to everyone. And just be sorry about Vania, but she's very sick, and so she can be in front of the computer just now. So yes, as you told me, I am an architect, so that's why I am really interesting about accessibility topics. And I decided about 10 years ago to start to work on this kind of tourism. Just because, and it's important that I say, because there was an important application by Basilicata region to help the hotel and the tourism company to increase and to make better them business. So I said, okay, we can try to think about it. Why not? Is the important things that the people can say. And so I started to study first of all, the business that is around the accessible tourism, and it's incredible big. It's incredible big and really, we can say sustainable. I will tell you later why, in my opinion, is really sustainable. And so we decided with my colleague, with a group of architects and not only, to study which kind of needs the people of special needs, of disability need to choose an hotel and to prefer an hotel to another one. And also we started to study the kind of communication that the other hotel that are accessible made. And I'm speaking about 10 years ago. Now the things are a little bit different, but the first things that we see immediately, and they was normally divided the communication. One communication for disability host and another one for all the other ones. And you can understand why, because normally the accessible room in the hotel are very bad. And nothing connected with the beauty and things that all people wants to found when comes in a place for the holiday. So one communication in one hand and another communication in another hand. So this was very curious for me. So we make some research, and we decided to make to start to work in Matera with the accessibility, trying to make a good place with the beauty and all things that the people look when they go to the holiday are for all of all guests. And in one hand. In the other hand, we decided to study and to work on the reasons why the people go to the holiday, why the people have to choose to Matera for them holiday, about the motivation, we can say. And Matera is a city that can offer a lot of opportunity to disabled people. Normally, when we think about the disabled, we think always to wheelchair, but the space is very big. So first of all, we decided to work with the deaf and the people who don't see, and to work on the tactilism. Matera is a really tactile city, we can say. And then in Italian, we say that you want to eat more when you like your meal. We started to work also with the people with on the wheelchair. And we start, in our hotel, we have a couple of rooms that are accessible. Now we have 16 rooms. So 2 of them are accessible. Nobody will see that is an accessible room, because normally the hotel, the people that have the hotel that we meet in our work always say, I don't want to make the accessible room because all of the other guests doesn't want it. And we started to explain them that all the bad things, the not beautiful things that are in the normal accessibility room are not obliged. So it's just a way to project, not obliged to have the VC and a lot of things. Is no rules, no law that oblige the people to have that kind of bathrooms or that kind of space. The important thing is to describe in which way you are, so the people can decide if your space are good for them. For sure, you must think about the space to move. For sure, you have to think about the way to make the shower. For sure, you have to think about a lot of things. But, you know, everyone decided if the place is okay or not. About them quality, about them, about themselves, we can say. So we make works on our hotel, and we started to study the city, because it's not enough to have an hotel, an accessible hotel. The people that normally go to the holiday want to see the city. And starting to look about the city, we made a mapping about the way and the monument that are already accessible. And we found a lot of it. So normally the medium stay of tourists in Matera are a couple of days. So we make a plan, we make a tourism itinerary, thinking about 2 days of permanence, mapping the monuments that are on the accessible way. So just making the things that normally the people make by themselves, just to give to the disabled tourist that has one of my friends say the disabled that go to travel are tourists anyway, to give the way to organize them visiting Matera. So what you can see, where you can go without steps or any kind of barrier, where you can go to eat, where you can go to sleep, where you can go to parking, what is interesting to see for the deaf people, because Matera is a really, we can say, vibrant city. what you can go to touch, because the stone in which Matera is made is really interesting. So just to give to the people the motivation to come to Matera. So why the people who don't see have to come in this city, and what you can do if you are on the wheelchair. That's it. And this kind of normally another important things for us, very important about sustainability, is that normally the people with the disability don't stay just one night. They stay more than one night in a place, and is because they are much more slowly. It is an important thing for us, because one of our goal is to make the permanent of tourists in our place more than one night. This is not for the business, because if you think about business, it is not very good, because the people who stay one night are they can spend more. If you stay just one night in a place, if you spend €200, it doesn't matter. If you have to stay 3 or 4 nights, it matters. So, but this kind of policy is important, because the people they can stay more, don't move a lot of time by car, don't use, they have time to see the city in a good way. Doesn't come just for a short time and go away. Also for our worker is just much more easy to talk with the people, to tell them, go to have a tourist guide, go to visit that other monument. The people that normally stay longer in a place, they use in a different way the service, the rooms, the power. They we can say that they are much more they respect much more the place in which they are. I don't know if I answered to your question.
Yes, you answered beautifully, Cristina. Thank you very much for sharing with us this inspiring, inclusive experience where you tried to provide a slow tourism, which is adapted to the needs of different disabilities. So you spoke about deaf, blind, but also people with physical disabilities. And it was really interesting to hear how the story all started in a collaboration, actually, between different minds and different experiences. So architects with the hotel sector to try to assess why people, what are the needs, why people are coming, what kind of rooms they're using, and what are their motivations behind visiting the city, but also what the city can already offer in terms of available assets and resources. So thank you very much for sharing this experience, which links beautifully with our next speaker, Alessandro. You will be actually sharing more about collaborative and regenerative tourism. So Cristina introduced us to the concept of inclusive and slow tourism, but you will speak more about collaborative and regenerative tourism. So we are all eager to learn more about your experience in the Ebro Delta from Catalonia. Alessandro, the floor is yours.
Thank you. I am trying to share the screen. Do you see the presentation?
I see that you started sharing, so hopefully technology
Yes.
will assist us in this endeavor. So
let me check because I don't see it sharing. I will try to do something.
I still can't see the presentation, so maybe retry.
Okay. Now I don't even see. Let me check. No.
Yeah, probably it froze because we see that you started sharing, but
Yeah.
it stopped there. So maybe unshare and reshare and
Yeah,
let's
the
see.
problem is I don't see the I can't see. I will have to go out and come back again. Just 1 second. Sorry.
Leave
Very
the room
sorry.
and come back. Okay.
Yeah. Sorry.
No problem. So while Alessandro is leaving the room and coming back, I invite you to start maybe sharing your questions, reflections in the chat box. You can share throughout the entire webinar, but if you have burning questions or reflections or comments or whatever you would like to share with the speakers or between them yourselves, please feel free to put in the chat box. So we've heard the intervention of Petros. We had the opportunity to listen to Cristina, and now I see that Alessandro is back again, and he's trying to share his screen. Alessandro, if you have a problem, you can also send me the presentation and I can try maybe to share it. No, technology is not assisting us today. Okay, there's a question to Cristina. So maybe we can take the question to Cristina in the meantime. Yeah, Christian, you can unmute if you want, or you can.
Yeah, I don't know if you hear me.
Yeah, we hear you.
I can start the video too. Thank you, Cristina. I had a question about your initiative. Can you hear me? And a very interesting initiative, and the fact that basically you don't categorize people or tourists or visitor, that you make sort of common background in terms of accommodations and in terms of terms of services, hospitality services also. I was considering the fact that we can face the same story with elderly people in cities, and there is already huge literature on that and some initiative at the European level about cities being open to elderly people, which makes in terms of urban planning, with public spaces, you know, sort of accommodation, and that these stories makes the same as what you search for is the fact that it's not, of course, equipment or accommodation for elderly people. It's for everyone, but it's just a common ensemble and a common space. So do you agree that it's we have a sort of, you see, different categories there, but sharing the same space?
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. The very richness is when the people from different culture, for different kind of ability meet together. The question about when you are coming to think about to make the accessible tourism, the first things that you have to do is to think about the special needs that the people has. And so it's very important to start from it because you have to understand if how is made the space. The first things that I normally tell to the people that want to come with this kind of, we can say business, with this kind of tourism, I say start to think about how you are made. And it is a rules that is good for hotel, for city, for square, for everything. And it's very interesting to see that when the people start to just to look in a very good way and thinking about the needs of the people, how is made the space. When I say space, I mean the rooms of a hotel or some other things. They come to understand where are the problems, in which way the space are not usable, are not can be better for all of category of people that we are thinking on. Sometimes the problem of accessibility are also the languages. Sometimes the problem of accessibility is the meat, the food, what you drink, is not only the disability in disability way, and is very important because the people, if we thinking about tourism, I think that we can say for all, start to thinking about the needs of people, not about only beauty or business, just what the people needs. And a lot of people that doesn't have special needs anyway, as they have some, they want some things from the space of the city that they are visit. And every time is always possible to make some things in this way, always. If it's possible in a city like Matera, it means that it's possible in everywhere. Just don't doing anything, just start to see how the place is made and what can be accessible and what no, looking it on the needs, on the needs, thinking about the needs of people. That's it.
Yeah.
And
so
in Matera, we didn't, unfortunately, we didn't do anything in the city because it's important, it's necessary to work on the municipality and on the public, on the political. So we didn't do anything at the moment. We just see the city and say, okay, it's not impossible. Just now, the people in wheelchair, that is much more difficult things if we're thinking about the city like Matera, can come here and stay 2 nights, or maybe 3 if they want, because they have some things to see, the place where they can eat, the place where they can sleep, and a very good motivation to come to Matera. Yeah.
So for clarification, Matera, there's no regulations about that. You don't need to comply for accessibility to.
You know, I think when the accessibility is very difficult and is a problem for a lot of people, should be much more easy to solve the problem, because the accessibility in the old town of Matera doesn't regard only the wheelchair people, but a lot of much more people that you are thinking on. Is just a way to go. Don't think that it's impossible. I just want to say it's possible everywhere. To make some things better is always possible. This is that one must be the mood in which you go on. If you say, okay, it's very difficult, quite impossible, nothing will happen. And the problem is that if nothing happens in the old town, nothing happens in the new one, where you can do everything, because nothing exists and you are building everything.
So thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much, Christian, for your question, and thank you, Cristina, for this beautiful interaction. There's actually, if you all agree, I would give the floor now to Alessandro, and then we open the Q&A just after his intervention. I see in the chat there's also a question from Robin, so we give the floor to Alessandro, and then we come back to all your questions. Alessandro, I received your presentation, so yes. I will be sharing my screen. Hopefully this time it will work. Yeah. I just need to close the other presentation. So this one, yeah. Et voilà. Top.
Yes, perfect.
And
Thank you very much. Yes.
I'll put it on. Yes.
Okay. Okay, super. Yes, so my name is Alessandro Rancati. We can already move to the next. In reality, since what is it, July 2022, I added somehow a nickname, which is Starglide, to mark the fact that somehow I ended a part of my career and entered a new one. So I ended working for the European Commission in July 2022, and it was something so exceptional that I said, okay, I will change my name. My name will be Starglide, and that was the logo. And if you next, I opened a company that is called livepods, and livepods is about dreaming, weaving, making beautiful experiences in policy, in places, and in businesses. And this is what livepods considers to be beautiful regeneration, which is the next slide. So to summarize, the idea is essentially that we work on creating experiences that are beautiful, and beautiful experiences are the somehow method that we use to regenerate. And the example that you will see now is somehow an example of how we weaved beautiful experiences in tourism. And like Ruba was saying, it all started with a workshop where the key topic was to explore the benefits of collaboration in tourism in this area, which is the delta of the Ebro River, which is the south of Catalonia in Spain. And collaboration in this case was not just collaboration within the private sector, but it was also collaboration between the private and the public sector, because the workshop was set up by the Agency for Economic Development of place, and also because they followed somehow the project also in the next steps. And so we started with the workshop. And if you move next, the big question of the workshop was, what do we intend for tourism? What is the tourism that we want? We are a special location. So next, in that case, during the workshop, we somehow went through two big questions. One is, what makes us special? We means all the participants, and in that case it was from 30 to 40 participants. They all had somehow a different idea of what made the Terras del Ebre special, and also what kind of tourism do we want to attract. So some of the participants were more interested in maybe somehow, between brackets, selling places in a hotel. Some other were more used to consider the area as an opportunity for people to just go to the beach and have some sun. But the majority, I would say, was somehow aware that place is special, and maybe the tourist or the traveler that they want to attract had a certain kind of profile. So in the next slide, we will see that somehow we condensed what's special of the place into this somehow four steps. So it's a reserve of the biosphere of the UNESCO. It's a special destination or destination of excellence for the Commission, the EU. It's a place with 4 different habitats, from the mountain to the delta, to the sea. And it has a very rich tradition in agri-food, and also in the production that is not completely massive. And so the decision was also, well, let's let's attract maybe someone who wants to learn about the place, who wants to connect with the culture of the place, who wants to learn our practices, and not just the person that wants to maybe come and forget about everything and just go to the beach and maybe get drunk. So that was a bit the idea. And so we focused a bit on the concept of the project that came out was that maybe we can work together on creating learning experiences. So the same group started to think less in terms of products and more in terms of this kind of learning experiences that bring together the places that we have available, the agricultural production, and the cycles of nature. That's a place that changes color depending on the moment of the year that we're in. And so they started to make this kind of connection. It was very interesting also because from the first workshop, there was already a lot of energy from the group itself. And they started to request more sessions to dig a bit deeper into the project itself. And one of the things that was also very, very interesting was that they decided to give themselves a bit of time to think and not to jump immediately into defining a product or defining a solution. So there was this kind of attempt to just work together without a particular specific product or goal in mind, and learning together how they could create value by mixing all their activity. Their activities were very heterogeneous. And so the idea that we started to consolidate around was this Escola del Saber. So the school of the, it's not really knowledge, it's knowledge and wisdom at the same time. It's a know-how and the know why somehow. And so this was the first output that we created. And so it was the same size of a newspaper that we brought to the different fairs. And inside, you could see in the next slide, the four, let's say, colors, seasons, and somehow symbols for the ecosystems. So we had the olive, and for this, we decided really to be very, very minimalist because it was at the very beginning of the project. So we put just a hint of what we're talking about. We put a picture and then a timeline. So there's 12 slots over there with the 12 different, let's say, links with, in this case, the production of olive. As an example or as an opportunity for everyone who wanted to participate to hook their own activity, to hook their own place, their own resource, and so on. And so maybe we can move exactly. So we had olive, water. Obviously, we are at the delta, and the relationship with the sea is very important. Then we have, I think, the vineyard afterwards, or no, the rice, and obviously also this is a place where you have a lot of different birds coming and staying and then using it as a base to emigrate and so on. And so you have the rural and traditional building that were used to also grow rice, that are being slowly transformed into places for people to just spend their vacations in. And then we have the vineyards and the constructions related to that, and all the production of wines. And so this was an example of the very first output that we had. And then you can see, I think in the next slide, the list of the participants at the very beginning. And the idea that if you notice, they are not divided into touristic categories. So you don't have activities or excursions or hotels and so on, but they're all divided by or grouped by the 4 topics that we had. And the idea is that they had somehow something related to that particular topic. That allows people also to think in a little bit more creatively about what they do, so that they somehow can also start to think about, I don't know, a little innovation in the way they decorate the place because of the particular link. But also we were using that to start to make connections, for example, between the places and producers of food. And so we started to think about how can we bring in a place the wines that are produced over here that maybe are not accessible yet, or the rice, or etc. etc. And this is one of the moments that we had presented somehow the initiative to the radio, to the local radio. In here you see 5 of the people that were really involved in the project, and you see at the center it's Vicky, and she has an activity that somehow organizes excursions and experiences, both in, let's say, the Delta and more in the inner part, which is more mountains. Then you have Manel. He was somehow the networker. He had a network and websites and let's say a social network for the place. Then that's a person in red to the left. Then on the side that is talking with the white hair, he's Paulette, and he is somehow the person that was inspiring everyone. He's very, very well known in the whole area. He's a person who's, for example, bringing people to his fields. He has a couple of fields of rice, and he makes them grow rice and plant rice and cut and harvest the rice with the traditional methods, and also separate the rice from the whole manually and so on. So it's really a person who connects the old traditions with people who are coming and learning. So and he was pushing a lot this idea of connecting what we do, even if it's tourism, with the agri-food sector. That is very important. Then with the orange sweater, you have Pere, and he was a representative of the observatory. And so he was a scientist. And here the interesting thing of starting to work in collaboration is that you suddenly see certain things emerging that you would not somehow probably even see or notice if you were not trying to collaborate. In this case, the observatory is obviously used by the scientists to do their experiment, but connecting this with this group of people, suddenly we started to see the opportunity, for example, to have guided tours and to show people both the equipment that they have, which is in some cases very it's part of the legacy, and it's part of the heritage. They have a huge pendulum to measure the seismic activity, for example, which is something that it's not really usual or common to see. And then they have obviously the observatory where people can look at the stars. No? And so combining this, for example, with someone who could provide some sort of catering that is from the place, and then someone who could explain maybe what's around the observatory, this could start to become really an activity that could become a product in itself. No? And the last one is the representative of somehow the public authorities, Giuseppe, who was responsible for the initial, let's say, workshop and kickoff. And so with this, I would say I would close a bit the presentation and maybe list in the next slide some of the principles that were into this project, and maybe could be a recommendation for those who would like to work on collaborative ways of creating value together. So one is to build a process, not just the product. So think, allow yourself time, and maybe even connect your process to the seasonal cycles, or think in terms of daily experiences, so that you exit a bit this sometimes tunnel vision of what you are focused on, and you open it up to the collaboration with others, so that you can enrich your own offer and the offer of others. Then obviously there needs to be trust, and this in our case, meeting in person helped a lot. And obviously, if you need to define a structure, so starting to think, okay, is this going to be a legal organization? How would it work if we start to make money? Where the money go and such? This is all part of this activity. Maybe not something to start at the very beginning, but at a certain point become necessary. Then another thing that I would really recommend is to know each other really well, even though they knew each other very well. They didn't know what they thought about their place, for example. They didn't know about the moments of happiness and the moments of less happiness. And so just getting dynamics to allow yourself to know each other in that way helps also to create this place, and also knowing the territory. And so one of the ways to do this is to share stories. And there are methodologies and techniques so that you share the stories that somehow represent your place and represent your experience. And then you listen to the stories of the travelers so that you can also understand, hey, this works, this could work, or what doesn't work really. One really strong concept is to repurpose things. So like in the case of the observatory is a scientific tool, but you can reuse it as a resource if you give it to someone else to manage, or if you give to someone else the opportunity to manage that additional part. And this is possible when you start to pool the resources together and you let other somehow find the value that maybe it's less clear for you to find. And then the last point, which for me it's essential, in part also because that's the added value that I can provide with the company and so on. But the idea is to including design and art, not just as products. So often, we think of the collaboration between art and tourism as, well, we put a performance in a place and so that people will come. That's one of the possible ways, obviously, but take advantage of the different ways of thinking that designers and artists may have, and the different ways of looking at the place that they may have, because they could give you really a different perspective of your services and what you propose, so that they can become really strategic partners in finding new value to what you're already proposing. And with this, really, I would close and thank you for listening. And obviously, we'll have questions afterwards, so very open to answer. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alessandro, for this amazing presentation. Actually, you took us through a participatory process where people took the time to meet, know better themselves, but also their territory, and started reflecting on more out-of-the-box way of revisiting seasonality. So instead of focusing on something happening once a year, they took advantage of all available assets and try to creatively think of how to leverage the beauty of the territory and its resources. I think it's time now to open the floor for questions. I think you shared again your screen. We can see a Zoom, Alessandro. I'm not sure if you're sharing your screen again. But
no, it's Maria Del Rico.
Okay, yeah, fantastic.
Super.
Okay. So maybe it would be nice
I
now. You want to ask questions? Yes, please, Maria, the floor is yours. Maria, you can unmute yourself if you want to speak because you're muted.
Do you
Yes.
hear me? Do you
Yes,
hear me?
yes,
Oh,
yes.
lovely. I would like to make a question an answer, sorry, to Mrs. Cristina, because she spoke about accessibility in Matera that is lovely and well organized for European capital. But it's very difficult to let to the person without blind or with the physical disabilities to go inside the caves, to touch, to take this kind of contact. Because I think we need, when we go in a place, to know the territory and to know what we have to see. Of course, they need to stay 2 days, more days, because they make their things slowly. But it's important to take participation to the activities of the place. So I would like to know, as they organize this, to go inside the caves or something else.
Cristina, would you like to answer this question?
No,
Yeah.
you have to repeat the question because I don't know why, but was a blackout by internet. So I am connecting now by my mobile. So can you repeat the question, please?
Yes, about the disabilities and
Yeah.
the blind person and something else. How do you organize for going inside the caves, inside the places? Because Matera is wonderful and well organized, but they cannot go inside these
So
structures.
normally the blind people, when they go to travel, it doesn't travel alone. Because one of the important things is to have someone that can explain them where they are, give some information about the experience so they can see with the eyes of the other one. But so this is one of the rules. But normally when one place is organized, so you have to, we can say that there are two rules. The first one is to give them a plan of place. And we can say visible and tactile plan. So a map that can work for everyone. So everyone can see and can understand where they are in a visible layer. Normally, I suggested to put on a transparent tactile level. So the blind people can study by hand the place. And then you must have some handle to come down to the steps. When there is a place in which you have to be shorter, so to move your hand, so just to be like this, you can give some information on the space. So you must have some facilities. They can make it in a lot of ways. So it depends from the space in which you are. The important thing, that's why at the beginning I say, it's very important to understand the needs of people when you have to project the space. So if you know, for example, the steps are not a problem from the blind people. The problem is that you have to tell them where start the steps and where ended. You must tell them everything is not, they cannot feel by, how to say in English, just 1 second, by stick, by white stick. If there is something that is not is less than 2 meters high, you must tell them that they have to pay attention in which place. Okay, so in the space you have facilities, and there are some facilities that already are in the space. You just need to take it and to put in a plan and to tell to the people, okay, when you, for example, if you have an handrail, if for example, if you are in a cave and you can put an handrail around the cave, and on the handrail you can put some things that explain that maybe in front of you are a painting, and how is the painting, who made it. Maybe I can take the picture of it and make in 3D, or make in a tactile level. So I'm using the space to make a story and to tell to the people in which place they are. Maybe I can suggest to the people to, or maybe I can have them there something like a belt, and to listen the sound. Or maybe I can tell to the people, use your hand to feel the shape of a cave. But everything starts from the needs of people. Everything. If you know the needs, you can project the space, and you can also use the space to suggest to the people in which way they have to move inside.
It's important. Okay, yeah. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Cristina, for this explanation, which I think connects also to Robin's question. He was asking whether it was possible to share the list with opportunities to improve hotels for disabled people.
Yes,
I don't know, Robin. Yeah.
We can make a list of opportunity, but you know, if you are able to host more people, you can increase your business. So I think that can be interesting to write a list of opportunity. Why not? And also one of the things that I always say is that the worker that work in a place are able to listen the needs of disabled are much more good to listen the needs of everyone.
Rob, I wonder whether this answers your question or if you need further clarification.
May I ask to Mr. Alessandro Rancati? Thank you. As we have the institution of tourism, art and restoration, so it's very interesting what Mr. Alessandro do, because experiences in this way are so good. But I would like to ask to him, special and attractive places as we have in Salento too, in Apulia, we have to organize with the tradition, culture, and agricultural experiences. This kind of destinations may allow to organize something of excellence, or they have difficulties to organize for them because he said about the value from mixing the different activities. So we managed to take this product finally for this person and to give them the possibility to use these attractive places. Thanks.
Alessandro, you're muted. Alessandro?
Sorry, yes. If I understand correctly, you're asking if it's possible or if it's easy between brackets to reuse something that it's used for agriculture, to reuse it for tourism and how it works.
Tradition.
Yes, yes.
Something mirated for this person who needs some helps to arrive to try these experiences.
Yes. Let's say on the offer side, what is important somehow is that let's say I am I work the olive groves, and I just dedicate to that.
Closed groups.
Yes, and but I work the olives, but I don't want to deal with the tourists. I don't want to have a relationship with the tourists. I want to work that, but I make friends with someone who can organize a tour, and then what I can do maybe is I prepare for them the bread with the oil and a tasting and a different thing. So I'm selling my product, but instead of selling it to a supermarket or so on, I have the tourists coming in. But as a producer of oil, I should not be worrying about bringing people in. The same is for wine, for rice, etc. I can keep doing what I'm doing. The only thing is that I make an agreement with other people, and I will let them use part of my space to do an alternative activity. And so just by doing that, I give others the opportunity to have touristic services, and at the same time I increase the opportunity for people from all over the world to learn about my products.
So you use excursions, experiences, and this kind of journey and activities just to give them finally your product.
Yes, you can use it that, and then we didn't make it happen, but there was another idea that we were working on, and the idea was to create a basket with products from different producers. So one bottle of oil, rice, bit of wine, and something else. But instead of selling the basket just for the products, we were associating to each product an activity to do on the spot, so that if the basket goes to Barcelona, the people who get the products they eat, but they also see that they have the opportunity to go and have an activity in the place where the product has been done, and so they may even learn how it's done, who does it, etc., etc.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, thank you, Alessandro, for the clarification. Ibala is asking whether they can have names of the projects. So, Cristina, I'm sharing Ecoverticale, but probably you have many more examples to share. And Alessandro, if it's possible, have a link to share about the project so people can have access to it as well. And Bala is asking another question, and it is actually to Cristina. When you write in Braille and the handrail, which language are you using?
I already write my answer, and I say that the Braille is we can say is a code that is very important to use and to show to all community, all the people that doesn't have any kind of disability that go in that place, just to tell them that there is a different language. But normally the very young blind people, or maybe the people that come to be blind older, that they are much more, doesn't know the Braille, because you have to teach when you are very young. So normally I suggest to put the Braille anyway, but to use the QR code or NFC that can bring you, that you can use the technology of the people. So they have, for example, NFC, and so your mobile ring when you are close to the things that you have to touch or see, and you can listen the audio, or you can see the video if you are deaf. So it's always much more correct to use a multi-level of communication. Very, very important, not one way. The first rules is that everyone must choose the way that it's much more useful for himself. So if I want to read in Braille, because I am not technology, I can use the Braille. If I have good technology, I can use my smartphone. But every time you are doing something for the blind people, you have to use the Braille. You know, it's a kind of respect.
Actually, it's very important, the point of differentiating and diversifying the tools you are using with different disabilities. So not only the touch, but also all other involved senses which people can use according to their disabilities, but also, as you mentioned, also according to their age and needs. I'm wondering whether we have more questions. I can't see additional questions in the chat box. So if you have questions, please raise your hand or just unmute yourself. Alessandro just shared a YouTube link about
just
project. If you want to say a couple of words, yes?
Yes, one comment. This is let's say an old project, but the reason I choose it is because even if it's old, it has a lot of elements all together that somehow I never had the opportunity then to find them all together. Okay, you had maybe smaller experiments or something like this. And in that case, it was really something that made sense, even if it's a bit old.
Okay, thank you very much, Alessandro.
Ruba,
Yes,
may I?
Laura. Yes, please, Laura. Please.
Okay, my question is for Alessandro again. And I want to know, now that you said that your project or your initiative is quite old, how is the impact of the climate change in this activity? Because now in Catalonia, you are suffering a very intense drought. And I suppose that these activities linked with the water, with the olive trees, that now is very limited the production, and we are seeing how the prices are rising. I suppose that you could see how the climate change is impacting in your initiative.
Yes, so this is a project that really happened a long time ago, no? And now they are somehow all the groups and all the different parts are independent, and they somehow found collaboration among themselves. They plant new routes and so on. But what you're saying is true, and for example, even in the Delta, there was a complete structure like a natural sandbar that disappeared because of the sea, and then it slowly came back, and so it's very, yeah, it's a very somehow delicate place, no? And what I can say about that is, apart on how this impacts the touristic activity, one of the elements that was already there at that time is a bit of a dimension of activism also, because the moment the people are so embedded in the territory and they're not just selling a product, but they're related, they also start to put pressure on the different members of the public administrations and so on. For example, in how the river is managed, when the water is used, and so on, etc. So it becomes really, it goes beyond tourism. It becomes really, and so the person who goes there, they don't just experience this place and so on, but they also learn about what are the problems, and if they can, sometimes they help, and maybe they go back because they know more about that kind of problem. So it really makes sense to connect with the reality of what's happening there.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alessandro, for this clarification. Today's webinar tackled actually how to define new business opportunities by introducing slow, inclusive, and regenerative tourism, while on the one hand assessing the needs, but on the other hand leveraging the local knowledge, assets, and know-how. Before waving goodbye, I'd like to inform you that our third Trace free webinar titled How to Boost Digitization and Integration of New Technologies in the Tourism Sector will take place on Thursday, 22nd February from 3:30 to 5 Central European Time. Registration is open, and my colleague Karen just shared the link in the chat. I'd like to thank you, Karen, for taking care of all organizational matters. Thank you very much. And I would like to thank our three bright speakers, and thank you all for attending the webinar. If you wish to rewatch the webinar, the recording will be available next week on eShakes YouTube channel. Thank you very much for coming together on Zoom, and we look forward to welcoming you soon again in February. Thank you very much, and
thank you.
Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Goodbye. Goodbye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye.